It went for 6 months without water or air and it was fine. That is incredible.
That's
Number
scary.
4, Immortal Jellyfish.
That's very scary.
In the animal
What it is, guys? It's your boy BlastphamousHD. Now, me personally, I don't trust animals, especially not anything that swims in water. I once got into a life or death fight with a flying cockroach. Even though I made it out alive, still don't think I won that one. Let's do this.
Hey guys, it's Chris. From creatures of the sea to the simplest of insects and more, join me as I reveal 9 animals that are difficult to kill. Number 9, East African giant snails. When you think of snails, you likely think of the slow kinds that eventually get made into French foods. They're usually small, slimy, and not exactly a threat to humanity.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to the East African giant snail, they're another matter entirely, and I mean that in the worst possible way. First and foremost, these snails aren't small at all. They can grow up to 8 inches and have a height of about a few inches depending on their neck. But what makes this particular creature so hard to kill is that it's an invasive species that just won't go away. But don't take my word for it, just ask the people of East Africa. These snails are so infectious to the landscape that they've had to try just about everything to get rid of them with minimal results. The locals have tried quarantines, pesticides, poisons, introducing other predators, and in one case using literal flamethrowers to try and get rid of these snails, but they just kept surviving and coming back for more. A rash of these came to the United States as well, and they were so invasive that they were given a top priority in regard to quarantine so they could try and be stopped before they got too invasive. These snails are also known for having the ability to carry various human and plant pathogens, as well as potentially deadly nematodes. So even handling these snails can be dangerous. In short, if you see one of these creatures on your lawn, take action immediately, or it won't be the only one you see after a short while. Number 8, bears. On certain levels, it's rather obvious that bears are hard to kill, but sometimes it's just not stated on how hard it is to kill them. For example, while bear hunting, many hunters tried to shoot the bears. They didn't always get the best results. Why? Mainly because between the bear's fur, thick skin, and pure mass, they could basically absorb the energy from low-caliber rounds and not sustain any serious injuries. Even shotguns sometimes don't have much effect on bears because of how powerful and tough they are. Another thing to note is that most times when people hunt bears, they try and trap them in order to limit their mobility, and thus line them up for easier shots. So basically, you have to trick them to put them down in an easier fashion. But trapping a bear is not always easy. The real reason the bears are so hard to kill is that they're so powerful and so strong and so fast that they can easily overwhelm a human in a one-on-one fight. They're known to literally ransack places, get into vehicles, and kill people with a single swipe of their razor-sharp claws if their accuracy is on point. This is why people are warned about areas that have bears in them. And that's why if you see a bear, you slowly walk away, because you don't want to tempt fate. Number 7, water bear. Not to be confused with actual bears, the water bear is a nickname for a microscopic species known as a tardigrade. They were discovered all the way back in 1773, and if you look at them via a microscope, they don't exactly give you the unbreakable aesthetic. Even the name is a misnomer, because tardigrade means slow stepper. But just because it's slow doesn't mean that it's not powerful. It can withstand a lot of conditions that you wouldn't expect something like this to endure. For example, if you tried to freeze them to kill them, you'd find that much harder to do than you would expect, as they can withstand disturbingly low temperatures of negative 273 degrees Celsius, which if you didn't know is only a few degrees away from absolute zero. The temperature where there is no movement of molecules at all. For an animal to survive that is very impressive. So maybe radioactive material might kill them? Nope. The water bear has a special ability that is referred to as freeze-dry, where they can enter a certain state of being where they can literally repel radiation of any kind. They're also immune to many manners of acids, solvents, and other things that you would use to kill something rather easily. But weirdly, there is one way to kill them intentionally. You can shoot them into space. No, really, it'll work. Once you give it 10 days, that's right, these little creatures can last for 10 days in the vacuum of space. And there, humans couldn't even last a few minutes. The vacuum of space is one of the deadliest places imaginable, but these creatures can live through it too. Number 6, zombie bugs, tree weta. Technically speaking, the tree weta is a mix between a cockroach, which is also very hard to kill, and a cricket, which is very easy to kill, to be honest.
Hell no.
But this unique fusion has made it one of the hardest things to kill in the entire world. And that's not even the most surprising thing about them. For example, not unlike certain other animals, they have a special protein in their blood that works as antifreeze, so they actually cannot fully freeze over and die even in the harshest of conditions. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. You see, when they do freeze over, parts of them do die, mainly their brain and heart. And you might think that means they can die via freezing, but you'd be wrong. Yes, technically they do die, but when they thaw out, they come right back to life as if nothing was wrong. That's right, this is technically a zombie bug, because it'll come back to life after death, which is not something you thought you'd hear about a real-life animal, right? But it's true. So even if you put it through the ringer, apparently its body will just come back to haunt you even more. Number 5. Lungfish. The lungfish has many things that distinguish itself from other creatures of the deep. One example is that it's a very old fish that apparently traces its ancestry back all the way to Pangaea. Its rich pedigree is rather impressive on its own. But when it comes to survival, it goes the extra mile that many fish species wouldn't even think of. You see, usually fish don't try and get out of the water on dry land because they'll die without water to sustain them. But for certain species of lungfish, they don't mind it as much as you think. Why? Because they have the ability to secrete a mucus membrane of sorts around their bodies when they're buried deep underground, which can help them stay alive without any moisture. This alone would be a very interesting thing, but in one scientific case, it was put to an unintentional extreme test. You see, there was one instance in which a lungfish was captured, put into a cylinder full of mud to allow safe and viable transport for the fish, and then they took it to a lab. But the cylinder got lost, and it went for 6 months before being found by the lab. And when they did find it, the mud was 100% hardened, and there was no air for the lungfish to breathe, and obviously no moisture to absorb. So obviously the lungfish died, right? No, you're wrong. Because not unlike a freeze-dried fruit, once they went and put it in some water, the lungfish was alive and kicking as if nothing had happened to it before. It went for 6 months without water or air, and it was fine. That is incredible. Number 4, Immortal Jellyfish.
That's very scary.
In the animal kingdom, there's a jellyfish that apparently has unlocked the secret of biological immortality. The scientific name for this jellyfish is Turritopsis dohrnii, and it has a very unique ability that allows it to be immortal. Mainly, it doesn't become mature, or actually, it kind of regresses back to being a juvenile after a period of time. And how this happens is amazing. The immortal jellyfish, which is an appropriate nickname, will age until it's an adult. Then it'll go and mate with another jellyfish, and after it does so, it'll actually revert back to its younger form or its juvenile form. After it goes back into this state, it'll start aging again until it goes and mates, and then it'll just start all over again. Due to this repeating process, they're actually immortal. To be clear, biological immortality is defined by not dying due to natural causes. However, there are many catches to this. In the case of this jellyfish, it can still die by being eaten, of course, which is a common and sad end for this little creature. But in terms of aging, it cannot die from senescence. In the recorded history of the world, this is the first and currently only creature to have this particular superpower. Many scientists are observing the immortal jellyfish to learn more about this ability. No doubt they're searching to see if it could be replicated in some form to help the human race. Number 3, Honey Badger. Yes, you might be thinking of the legendary Honey Badger Don't Care memes that populated the internet once upon a time. But the ironic thing here is that the meme was kind of true. You see, the honey badger isn't the biggest, the best, or even the most ferocious animal in the world. But they're known as the most fearless animal in the world. And that's gotten it some attention, which helped prove that this title was worth it. First and foremost, the honey badger isn't specific about what it eats. This is because if it's smaller than them, it'll just go after it. And then it'll go after it with some passion. But what makes it fearless is that they will also go after any large animal that dares infringe on its territory, no matter what. Even if a larger animal only accidentally steps on its home, it'll lunge after it and attack with all it has. It's so reckless with abandon that though it can be killed, most animals won't try and take it on out of fear of being injured in the confrontation. No, really, the honey badger is known for having only a few predators because even bigger creatures simply don't want to mess with the honey badger. As a bonus, they have thick skin, which makes killing it a little harder than you might expect. It's not worth getting into a scuffle with this crazy creature.
Not even worth it.
Number 2, African elephant. In truth, the African elephant is one of the most powerful creatures on land. and on all of planet Earth. Of course, we all know that the African elephant is in fact the largest species of elephant in the world, which makes it the largest land animal in the world as well. Their bodies are thick with tough skin. Their legs are like tree trunks, and they have massive ears. They can reach about 13 feet in height and weigh well over 13,000 pounds at points. Just their tusks alone are impressive, for they can grow to be 8 feet long, and each one can be 100 pounds in weight. But don't forget about its trunk, for the trunk has over 100,000 muscles in it. Due to it having that many, it allows the elephant to deal devastating blows, rip branches off of trees, and lift objects with ease. But of course, when the time comes, the elephant can use its massive body to absolutely wreck people and predators that try to kill it. Their feet alone could kill a person via their weight, and they've been known to trample people or literally crush them. That's why an elephant stampede is one of the most dangerous things you can be a part of, because with numerous elephants speeding around with all that weight, few things can survive. Plus, shooting it isn't as smart as you might think. If you miss it or you hit the wrong part, they'll realize you're there and rush right at you with blistering speed. Number 1. Hippo. While elephants may be one of the most powerful things on land, hippos are one of the most powerful things in the water that you'll find in Africa. And they're just as hard to kill for a similar reason. They're simply too tough and aggressive to fight. The average adult male hippo can weigh over 3,000 pounds. And don't let their big looks fool you, because they can stampede as well and are known to rush campgrounds on land. They're also stealthy in the water and can knock over boats that get into their territory. The power of the hippo also extends to its mouth, which is able to break boats and even chomp people in half, literally. That's been proven a number of times for the record. And again, their girth and surprising speeds make it hard to defeat them, because even if you line up a good shot with a powerful weapon, you better make sure you hit the hippo in the right spot, or you might end up dead. Thanks for watching. What did you
Never lay down in front of a speeding elephant, or speeding anything, honestly. No diddy. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to comment, like, and or subscribe to more BlastphamousHD Twizzles.